I was selling beef to the placer miners in California and had to do a great deal of horseback riding to visit the different camps to get their orders for beef. In going to one camp, I found the trail so steep that I thought I would walk the balance of the way, about a quarter of a mile. So I tied my horse close to the trail and footed it on up to the camp. On the way up, I noticed a good many prospect holes that had been abandoned, some of them with large dumps, and some with their windlasses still over them. I remember thinking how dangerous it was to leave such places uncovered, as men or animals might fall into one of them, and, if not killed, could not be heard by anyone, and so die of starvation or thirst. By the time I had made the round of the camp and finished up my business, it was dark. Some of the miners wanted me to stay with them all night, but I would not, for I had left my horse tied so he could not feed, and I also thought I could find my way back down the gulch, although it had grown extremely dark. I made good time, descending a well-defined trail, when all at once I felt that I was falling. Throwing out my hands, I struck what I suppose was a windlass frame and clung to it for dear life. But the wood was rotten, and it broke almost in two, and the least move I made would make it crack, and it was already pinching my hands. Horrible thoughts ran riot through my head. How I should lie mangled at the bottom, or if dead, how long before my body would be found. What would my wife and friends say as to the cause of my disappearance? Great beads of sweat came out all over me. All my life's doings, good, bad, and indifferent, rushed through my mind at lightning speed, and oh, the terror and agony of it all. My strength at length failed, and I commended my soul to God, closed my eyes, and let myself drop. I fell a full 6 inches. Finding my horse, I rode back to my lodgings. Howard Egan, Jr. was born in Tullamore, Kings County, Ireland, on June 15th, 1815, the sixth of 10 children in this thatch-roofed cottage 3 miles outside of Tullamore, Ireland. He was the son of tenant farmer Howard Egan, Sr. and Anne Meath. In 1822, when Howard was 7 years old, his mother died 2 weeks after giving birth to twin girls. The next year, after yet another disastrous harvest and depressed crop prices, his father left Margaret, nicknamed Greta, in the care of her Aunt Mary in Ireland, and took the other 9 children and immigrated to Canada. The 8-week sea journey was a difficult but memorable adventure for 8-year-old Howard Jr., one which profoundly influenced the course of his life. 2 years after their arrival in Montreal, and within a 1-month period, 3 of Howard's siblings died. First, Evelina, the 2-year-old twin, then Anne, who was 2 years younger than Howard, and then Barney, 5 years older than Howard. They were now a family of 6 siblings and 1 parent. But on August 6, 1828, Howard Sr. died, leaving the children to care for themselves. They were now orphans. Howard was 13 and well acquainted with death. As soon as his age permitted, Howard signed on as an apprentice on a ship, following the life of a sailor, including 3 years on a British man-o'-war until 1836, when he was 21 years of age. He found himself in Salem, Massachusetts, and obtained work in a rope factory working with a Mr. Chisholm. In 1838, at the age of 23, he met and married 14-year-old Tamsin Parsley. Tamsin did not like the Irish. Howard, knowing of her aversion, changed the pronunciation of his name so it would sound like French-Canadian, and the place of his birth, which he now claimed as Montreal, Canada. All her life, Tamsin lived with an Irishman and raised a family by him, and did not know it until after his death, when a son, Richard Erastus, was set apart to gather genealogy and found out his father was born in Ireland. When he returned to Salt Lake, he told his mother about it. She was indignant and said, "I will never forgive him, and he will have to pay for it in heaven." But before she died, she called her children around her and said, "With all my heart, I forgive your father, because I can see the folly of such feelings toward a people who are of Israel." In 1842, Elder Erastus Snow brought the gospel to the home of Howard and Tamsen. He was 27 and his wife 18. He and Tamsen were baptized by Elder Snow, and that same year they moved to Nauvoo, Illinois, the gathering place of the saints. Howard brought with him the art of rope making, which he had learned in Salem. He immediately obtained the necessary tools and machines and space for a factory and the raw materials needed to produce finished products. During the year 1843, the Egans were among those who received blessings from Hyrum Smith, the brother of the prophet and patriarch to the church. In blessing Howard, the patriarch informed him, quote, "You are a descendant of the house of Israel through the lineage of David and of the tribe of Judah." Howard was made a major in the Nauvoo Legion and became a member of the Nauvoo police force. On many occasions he served as a personal bodyguard to the prophet Joseph Smith. Among other things for which Egan was noted was his ability to teach the gospel and his ability to lead people. He was called on several missions during the Nauvoo years, usually to the eastern states. He was away on one of those missions when the prophet and his brother were martyred. The death of Joseph and Hyrum and the change of leadership in the church did not lessen the persecutions by the mobs. Howard, a major in the Legion with a number of hand-picked men, was mustered into service during the house burning which began September 11th in the Morley settlement, just over the south line of Hancock County, about 25 miles due south of Nauvoo. Major Howard Egan also served on the Nauvoo police force during this time of fear and patrolled and assisted in every way possible to protect the saints against the mobs. When not on patrol duty as a policeman, Howard labored with the other saints in the construction of the temple. During his time in Nauvoo, the rope-making business had been profitable for Howard Egan, to the extent that he had begun building a new home for his family. At the time the order was given to leave Nauvoo, he had constructed a foundation and was ready to continue building. Obedient as always to the leaders, he loaded a wagon with the provisions, implements, and other commodities necessary to begin a new life in a strange land and left with the other saints. Howard was selected to be a captain over 50 at winter quarters, but was often called away to purchase corn and other supplies from the settlers in the area, and even from St. Louis, more than 400 miles away. In 1846, when the Mormon Battalion was called to fight for the United States government against the Mexican forces, the battalion requested that agents be sent to Santa Fe to carry the pay of the soldiers back to their families. John D. Lee and Howard Egan were chosen and returned to the encampments at Council Bluffs November 21st of that year, bringing with them 282 letters and the sum of $4,000 of battalion money. When the first group of pioneers was organized at Winter Quarters, Nebraska in the spring of 1847, Howard Egan was made captain of the 9th 10. He was appointed a road scout and a general proctor for the welfare of the people in the company. The journal he kept during this trip has been very valuable to students of church history. Howard returned to Winter Quarters the same year and brought his family west the following spring, 1848. On arriving in the Great Salt Lake Valley, they lived in the fort, which is now Pioneer Square. Later, he built a home on North Main Street. With the help of Indians in the West Desert, Howard scouted out a trail to California that skirted the west part of the Salt Flats. In the winter of 1849-50, he made a trip to California to sell livestock to the miners and buy supplies for the saints in Utah. He then repeated that trip annually, driving large herds of cattle to California to sell to the miners to earn cash for the church. Howard's long absences from home took a toll on his family life. When he returned to his home in Salt Lake in 1851, after another long cattle drive to California, he was met by his wife Tamsen and a son that was not his. This evidence of betrayal was a severe trial to him, which moved him to take the life of the man who had fathered a child by his wife. But he accepted that child into his home and treated him as his own. Lest we judge Howard too harshly, we must remember that 1. The blood atonement doctrine and the frontier justice culture drawn from Old Testament times was in force in the Utah Territory. 2. It was a much different world than the one in which we live. 3. That Howard was acquitted of the charges that were brought against him by a jury of his peers. And 4. That he paid a profound personal price for his vengeance, which he acknowledged. In 1860, Major Howard Egan became a Pony Express rider and agent. On that first express ride, he started on a stormy afternoon, and all went well until on the home stretch. The pony was a very swift, fiery, and headstrong animal. The night was so dark that it was impossible to see the road. There was a strong headwind blowing from the north, carrying a sleet that cut his face while trying to look ahead. As long as he could hear the pony's feet pounding on the road, he let him proceed ahead at full speed. All went well, but when he got to Mill Creek, which was covered by a plank bridge, he heard the pony's feet strike the bridge, and the next instant the pony and rider both landed in the creek, which wet Howard above the knees. But the next instant, with one spring, the little pony was out and pounding the road again. The distance was covered in record time. Howard later served as a member of the Salt Lake Police Force, as a deputy sheriff, as deputy clerk of the 3rd District Court, and as a missionary to the Go-Shoot tribe. He also acted as a guard at the home of Brigham Young. After the death of President Young in August 1877, Howard Egan was appointed to guard his grave. While serving as a guard over the grave of President Young, Howard's work came to a close. On the 16th of March, 1878, he died in Salt Lake, the valley he helped to colonize. Howard died at only 63 years of age of inflammation of the bowels, appendicitis, after an illness of about 2 weeks. He was the type of man needed in those hard years of trailblazing, pioneering, and settling the West, one you could rely on. It broke my heart to leave Mum there beneath the Irish soil, and tiny Greta in Aunt Mary's care. But Papa and the 9 of us from Tullamore rode the Grand Canal to Dublin's tall ships anchored there. And to Canada we sailed through 8 weeks of ropes and riggins, masts and pulleys, winds and sea spray on my face. To Montreal for better prospects of marriage, work and land, and where death's hand would put 4 more of us in our graves. And where death's hand would put 4 more of us in our graves. An orphan of 15, I chose to live a sailor's life, which quickly turns a boy into a man. From bow to stern I had to learn to pull my weight with ropes and sails, needles, knives, and midnight tales on command. Then when I'd learned the ropes, I put my hopes on making them and I tied the knot with Temps and parsley as my bride. And when the elders brought the news of restoration, we rejoiced and were baptized, and I gave them my reply. I gave them my reply. You can rely on me. I'm ready, I'm willing and prepared. You can rely on me. I've weathered storms that others haven't dared. No effort has been spared, so you can rely on me. In 43 we gathered to Nauvoo. I joined the Legion as a major and was blessed by Patriarch Hiram Smith. But as our numbers grew, so did the opposition, threatening us with death unless we left the state forthwith. And so began my many missions that kept me away from home, buying provisions, being a courier, driving cattle to the coast, serving the saints, serving the brethren, finding trails, making history, and on occasion wondering what mattered most. Ah, what mattered most. But you can rely on me. I'm ready, I'm willing and prepared. You can rely on me. I've weathered storms that others haven't dared. No effort has been spared, so you can rely on me. And when the honor of my family was betrayed, I felt that surely an atonement must be made. And though vengeance in the moment felt so sweet to me, in time I felt my heart was taken out of me, taken out of me. But you can rely on me. I'm ready, I'm willing and prepared. You can rely on me. I've weathered storms that others haven't dared. No effort has been spared, so you can rely